Alright people, welcome back to our Mitre-Attack series here. So we are doing the obtain capabilities in one go here with different videos, but in one sequence, let's say. And today we are going to take a look at the tool as part of obtain capabilities T1588.002. And it will be interesting to learn today. Also, I gotta change that so it was today. We have Wednesday the 7th. So it is interesting to see what is the difference to malware. I mean, a tool is also some sort of malware, isn't it? And there was one sentence that catched my eye before the recording, but we will get to that. Pretty interesting. Let's go back to reading mode first. So, as you can see, we are still in resource development. This time we have some contributors here. Menachem, Goldstein, Mnemonic S, Socrates. Interesting. So it looks like we have 3 participants here, while the second 2 appear to be artist names. Yeah, so let's take a look what it is. So adversaries may buy, steal or download software tools that can be used during targeting. That's same as with malware. Tools can be open or closed source, free or commercial. And now this sentence catch my eye before recording. A tool can be used for malicious purpose by an adversary, but, and here it is, unlike malware, were not intended to be used for these purposes. And this is the difference to malware, and I think this is the only significant difference. I really enjoyed reading that sentence. This is the arsenal of arguments that you gotta have as a participant in the cyber community sometimes. So somebody might ask you, hey man, you talk about tools, you talk about malware, what's the difference? You gotta know the difference, and reading sentences like this just helps to formulate these answers in a clean and crisp way. I wouldn't be able to formulate it cleaner and crisper than just this one sentence. So a tool was not intended to be used for malicious purposes. And they give you an example, PS-Exec. Okay, so PS stands for PowerShell, and exec obviously some execution of that. Okay, and then let's continue reading what we have. Adversaries may obtain tools to support their operations, including support execution of post-compromise behaviors. Tools may also be leveraged for testing, for example, evaluating malware against commercial. I love that. Yes. So as you can see, is the moment you have contributors here, the whole thing becomes interesting for me. And this is the example that I gave you in one of the videos a while back, when I was like saying, as a hacker, what would I do? I would buy CrowdStrike, a copy of CrowdStrike, install it on my test environment, and I would play around with that EDR system and with my hacking tools or whatever I develop, payload, and I would try for so long until it does not trigger anymore. And this is the moment when I would go out into the open, into the wild with it and try it. That's what they write here, and that's valuable. Also keep in mind, if you mention this with people from these companies around, so go to a CrowdStrike event, convention, and tell them this, they won't be happy about it. So this is almost a taboo topic, that these vendors, they might as well providing hacker groups with the same stuff, and how effective is that then? A really good point. I like that they added this here. So we have already 2 valuable sentences from my perspective. The distinguishment between tool and malware, and what can be done with antivirus solutions and EDR applications. Tool acquisition may involve the procurement of commercial software licenses, including for red teaming tools such as Cobalt Strike. In addition to freely downloading or purchasing software, adversaries may steal software and/or software licenses from third-party entities, including other adversaries. Again, that's I would like to question. Let's try to find at least one example where adversaries attack others. Threat actors may also crack trial versions of software. Yes, but in general, very, very insightful first few sentences. Now as a next step, let's go here into the procedures and examples. And this time we have here only groups. Yeah, but that is what it is then. If there are only groups, that is what it is. Yeah, let me scroll down and see if I find at least one. Yes, campaigns we have, software we don't have, so I won't copy then anything in addition to that. Let's see who we have. So we have all these APT numbers. They have a name usually, but here they have just this. And we have at the beginning this Dragon Aokin, obtained the Heyoka open source exfiltration tool and subsequently modified it for the operations. Okay. Then they have here obtained and modified imminent monitor. Then here open source for privilege escalation has obtained publicly available tools like Empire. Here we have Mimikatz. Yes, Mimikatz a lot, as you can see. Again, Mimikatz. Yeah, the rest is just Mimikatz from the different APTs. Alright, so the procedure is uneventful, but still it's important to get a slight idea of what it is all about. We got it. Nothing catched my eye to mark it down. And then let's take a look at mitigation and detection strategy. Let's see what we have here. So pre-compromise. So this technique cannot be dealt with, at least not preventive. Cannot easily, and I like how they say, and they said this on the last pages as well. They say it cannot be easily mitigated. It doesn't mean that it cannot be mitigated. Well, obviously, by the use of law enforcement, it can be at least reduced a little bit. So by increasing the penalties and going all the way up to the death penalty, or even higher than death penalty. So from my perspective, what happened, for example, in Guantanamo Bay, where people allegedly, so obviously nobody of us was there and could see it with his own eyes, but from what I read in the papers and from conspiracy theorists and stuff, they claim that people have been tortured there. And so there is possibility to mitigate cybercrime by going all the way up to torture as a penalty for being a cybercriminal. From my perspective, torture is one step higher than the death penalty. But that's, I think, also something. It's just an opinion. Okay, you cannot really quantify these things. But yeah, I believe this is what they mean when they say it cannot be easily mitigated. So yeah, through law enforcement and intimidation, you can mitigate these things. It remains to be debated if we want to live in a society where there is a lot of death penalties and even torturings happening for cybercrime, because there's always a possibility to be wrongly accused, to be a patsy, and so that's like the downside of any type of law enforcement. You always hit a certain percentage of false positive people who don't deserve it, who didn't do anything, or who did something but not to that extent. You get the idea. So the mitigations that I can think of here and that happen in the world, they are not ideal. There is room for innovation here. That's what I want to say also. So there are fields where innovation no longer is needed in certain parts of mathematics. So for example, symmetric, asymmetric cryptography, like the AES algorithm for encryption, the RSA algorithm. That stuff is developed and there's little room for innovation there. You can just apply it, that stuff works perfectly fine. And the people who developed this, the block ciphers and stuff, those are geniuses, they did a good job. There's little room for innovation. But here, mitigating something where the smartest in that field and the people behind Mitre certainly are. And when they say that's not easy, that's like a call for help. That's like a call for innovative people and develop things. That's your chance to step into this. And I'm sure some of our listeners are part of this capability, or they possess these capabilities to think about problems like this and create a solution, or at least a little bit of a progress there. So yeah, have an eye out for all of these statements whenever professionals say, oh, this and that is not so easy and so on. Well, yes, it's not easy, but that means it needs to be solved by somebody at some point. Okay, in detection strategy, let's move on. So what they tell you is simply watching out for file hashes, malicious payloads, watermarks. So Cobalt Strike has watermarks apparently. And yeah, detection efforts may be focused on post-compromise phases of the adversary lifecycle. So certainly, after the malware acquisition is done and the phase of resource development is done, this is when the action begins. This is when the anomalies in your logging and monitoring are visible, but this is a step too late maybe. So detecting it right here, or at least anticipating an attack in this early stage, that can help you. Okay, good, then let's move on to the references. So we have 160 this time. Let's simply pick from the middle. Let me find a good spot here. We start at 60, it's well aligned, and we end here. Just a little group, nicely readable, and also because I will be using these slides maybe years after that as a lookup, or maybe sending people the link to this video if I notice that, okay, instead of explaining or talking about it again, I talked about it already, I might send the link to this video. So that's why here's the references now. But let's take a look who we have. So great, never heard of that. Surveillance in Iran, then FireEye, okay, cyber extortion operations, Signia incident response team, Elephant Beetle uncovering organized financial theft, okay, McKeek. There's very little names I recognize, so now it starts. So CISA, Russian FSB cyber actor, Star Blizzard continues worldwide spearphishing campaigns. Yeah, the FSB, that's like the Russian NSA, something like that. S must be standing for secret, F federal, and B bureau or something like that. Let me Google that. FSB Russia. Federal Security Service, FSB. Well, yeah, they sit in Moscow, but it doesn't say what the FSS, Federal Security Service. Well, I don't know, it must be a Russian acronym. Okay, then we have Microsoft Threat Intelligence, Star Blizzard again. Quick Assist from Microsoft. Ventura. Dell SecureWorks. Oh. So you always learn something new, so I wasn't aware that Dell has some cybersecurity department to at least one that matters, but threat group 3390 targets Organization for Cyber Espionage. Yeah. But yeah, so far so good, people. So that's from the sources, at least from the selection that I picked here, there was nothing of interest. But nevertheless, we have now an idea of this obtain capability tool. We know the difference to malware. We have an example here how you can deal with antivirus. Okay, so you can test these tools against antivirus solutions. Also, we know where to locate it in the kill chain. We've seen some procedures, only groups that do that. Mimikatz is a big aspect of that. Cobalt Strike as well. Mitigation cannot happen. Detection, there is an idea of how to detect that stuff. Look for file hashes, look for what stuff that an EDR would also look for. Even though EDRs won't detect tools, that's the thing, so you gotta look out for, well, suspicious behavior at that point. And from the sources here, nothing that catched my eye. If something catched your eye, let me know, we might dig into this. All these sources are usually well maintained, so you can easily click on it and have an article behind it. There are no paywalls, no nothing, so the information from Mitre-Attack is usually freely available. I like that a lot. So far so good then, people. So we have a 16-17 minute video as usual. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending time on cybersecurity. It is time well spent. And see you in the next video then. Goodbye.